Adobe Live, how is it going? My name is Ryan Selvey, and I'm here with Courtney, Birk, and Ashleigh Coffelt. Actually, I didn't even ask before we started. Is it Coffelt or is it Coffelt?
Oh my God, I am so sorry. Yeah. Who needs ears?
Not us, obviously. Hi, you said our names right,
Yeah,
though.
that's
So,
perfect.
I
so that was
did.
good. Yeah, you did.
Okay, well, that's super exciting. Well, I am joined by CA in LA, which stands for Courtney Ashleigh in Los Angeles, but also doubles as California in Los Angeles, which is also kind of fun.
Sure.
That hurts.
Um,
That hurts. That hurts.
Hey, I think it works. I think it's both are strong. But we're very excited to have them on the show today. We're here with Adobe Spotlight. Adobe Spotlight is the series that we have here on Adobe Live, where we dive into the creative world of artists and creatives that we ask a little bit about their process, their work, their portfolio, and we'll be checking out a lot about what they offer. They're wonderful live streamers over on Twitch as well, as you can see in between their shoulders, and we have a lot to ask them. But we're excited to see everyone in chat. Hello over on both Behance and YouTube. We're streaming in two places. So hello to Robert. Thank you for moderating Adara. It's great to see Keys here as well. And then over on YouTube, thanks for being here, Chris. It's nice to see you in the chat, as well as Caitlin. So I guess the best place to start off maybe is we could pull up your reel, and we could maybe talk over it, and we could hear a little bit about you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pull that up real quick, and I'm going to go and hit play on this, and I'll let you guys take it away. Tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah. So this is from a film called Legacy. It is about a woman and her journey with her dad. And Los Angeles is a huge backdrop. This is an unreleased film called Bucket List. Courtney and Justin Powell are amazing. This is a project called On the Rocks that did very well in film festival routes. We were camera team for this, and it was really fun. This is again from Bucket List, unreleased. Nice little sci-fi. That's from On the Rocks again.
You can see we really enjoy a color palette. We did not do the lighting for this one, though, but we were excited about the
This
camera
is
team for it.
a short called Band-Aid, just kind of talking about the loneliness and intoxication of living in Los Angeles. More
Which
lights.
I act a lot if that wasn't clear. Yeah, so you will see me in a lot of our stuff. Ashley usually does the camera, and we're over 150 films in at this point. So, and that's that's not counting stuff that we've done for other people. That's just our catalog. So a lot of this is Ashley's camera work and other projects mixed in with the stuff that we've worked on as well. So we like a lot of slow motion as well.
I mean, as long as it's filmed for slow motion, I can always, especially in the 90s, they like to shoot in like 24 frames per second, and then we're like, oh, we'll just slow it down in post. And I'm like, you can't do that.
You can't. We noticed a lot of random flash frames from 90s. Like they'll just pause the movie. And we're like, what is this? What is this technique that we saw back then? Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the chat, Penny Doodles.
That film right here is called Valentine's Day. This is one of our fan favorites. And yeah, these are a lot of projects that we've filmed for other directors, a lot of women and minority directors and creators. So it's been a lot of fun. And this is from a film called What Was the Question? That was a really intense film for us, but we learned a lot. This was one of our first projects that we filmed with an area mirror.
I think we do have a good chunk of every genre in there in that reel, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We usually tend to skew towards drama. Well, we used to, and now we lean more into psychological thriller, a dark comedy, that kind of thing. So that's where we're leaning now. But yeah, that was a good showing of different stuff that we've worked on. Yeah.
You guys have plenty of range. I would love to hear how you guys met and how you guys began to collaborate. I know you said you did over like 150. That's obviously, hopefully, over a span of a few years. But how did you guys meet, and how long have you been working together?
It was all done in one, and it was pure mania. No, it was done in 12, and still very much feels like pure mania. But we actually met serving tables at a Ruby Tuesday in Maryland.
Nice.
And I overheard Ashleigh saying she was going to make 13 short films in 2013, and I had just graduated high school, and that was really exciting for me because I'd done theater. So I messaged her on Facebook and, oh, I'm sorry. She was my boss. Okay. And I said, let me be in one of your movies. And she was like, great, I'll send a script when it's done. And she sent me one of the darkest scripts I had read as a young person at the time, certainly something that I'd acted in before. And I was like, this is beefy. This is going to be awesome. I was really excited. It was just, it wasn't anything fluffy. And yeah, I wanted to push myself. And we had never worked together before. So I thought diving into the deep end worked well for us.
Yeah. And then we just spent the next like decade working on building up our skills. We would get a new piece of gear and work on each project would be something different, a different skill set, whether it was learning slow motion or learning an edit technique, experimenting with cameras, experimenting with shutter speeds. And then to kind of like stress test that skill set, we would do a 48-hour or a timed challenge. And so we had a lot of experience with doing a project and then doing a 48 or 72-hour film festival as well. So it also helped us develop our skill set of completing projects instead of just having it sit in edit hell on your hard drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Into the void far away. Hello to Robert and Joe, who are also joining us over on YouTube. Thank you guys for being here. We're sitting down with Courtney and Ashleigh, and we're talking about their process as video creators. But I also would love to hear how you guys fell into live streaming. You guys live stream every Monday, I believe. And what does that look like? How did that come to be?
So one of our friends, Chris Ash, who's also a frequent collaborator of ours, he started streaming on Twitch, and he recommended that we get started and said that this would be really good for us to not only build our communication skills and our public speaking skills, which absolutely, but also to introduce us to new audiences and to build our core group of community for films. And that's exactly what it's been. We've been live broadcasting on Twitch for 6 years now, and we have found the most amazing community called the Ohana, many of which are in YouTube right now. So hello to the Ohana. Thank you for being here. And it's just been fantastic. We've been able to fund our films this way. We've been able to get immediate feedback. We've been able to share so much of our film journey and find new collaborators, which has been incredible. You want to go more into like the music and stuff?
Yes. So regrettably, we started with gaming. And no, not regrettably. It was fine. We were told you only need 2 things to start streaming. And then we realized it turned into much more than that, as every streamer knows. So we were gaming for a while, and because we had been singing for maybe 3 years together at that point, because we would do side hustles of singing at our restaurant to raise money for our feature film, we had this huge notebook of all of these different songs that we knew. So we decided to start doing a song of the hour. So we'd stop the game, we'd play a song and move forward. And as our community grew, people were like, hey, no one is here for the gameplay. That's not it. You guys are much better conversationalists and musicians, so you should do that. So by 2019, we were full-time music. And then our catalog started growing, our community started growing. And that was when the music community on Twitch wasn't developed. This was at ground zero pretty much. And that was really exciting to be a part of, and we got to meet a lot of amazing people. And so that's how we got into music. And then once we got that developed, then we started adding film more into it. And so now we just kind of do a little bit of everything on stream.
Yeah.
It's a big old catch, which is cool because it also gives you opportunity to promote when you have different screenings coming up or when you're working on something. I know you said that you raise money for films as well. And then I also know that you mentioned you're excited about when you get new equipment, especially in that last shot that you had for the heavy one with Courtney in the shower. I know you said that was your first time using something, and I didn't catch what that was. What was that piece of equipment you said?
Yeah, so Area Mira is a incredible camera, and our roommate at the time was in grad school for film, and we were filming a lot of projects for him. And we grew up on the Canon 5D Mark III, like a lot of people we know, and it was a journey to go from the Canon DSLR to a Sony A7S II, which is our stream cameras. And then to be able, our Twitch community over the pandemic funded an Area Mira as a result of us being able to work with our roommate on his projects using the Area Mira. So It's been a dream come true.
But it's also cool that you've been scrappy and able to produce films and create content with, something before when you had your Canon, and then now all the way up to this kind of new caliber and level of professional quality. You said that, you have 150. I know you have one coming to a film festival soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, that's actually the poster that Courtney is working on. So I don't know if this would be a good place
What
to
a
transition.
great transition. It's like,
It's
we can
almost
pretend
like
I
we've
planned
done
it.
You did. So while Ashleigh and I really love in-depth concepts and in-depth visuals, we like to keep the posters minimal. I would always prefer to just have a small drawing or something like that, something that really encapsulates the film instead of anything super crazy. So we do try to have minimalist posters and just have them as eye-catching as possible. So the 4 main colors that are in this film are green, red, blue, and yellow. And so I wanted to do that. And it is basically a visual representation of what it looks like when you get a text from your toxic ex and that emotional turmoil that you go through. So hence the text bubble. I actually created that text bubble in Illustrator because for some reason I can use those tools so much easier to draw than I can in Photoshop. But here we are. I also like to keep everything super clean. So in my layers, everything is labeled like an insane person. But yeah, so these are the laurels that we have so far. There's a couple more that I need to add, but the glow feature the outer glow is something that I use in Photoshop quite a bit. Let me see.
I'm also so happy that you label your layers because I'm always preaching about it, but I'm also very bad at doing it myself.
It drives me crazy because my ADHD brain, if I don't know where things are, I will spend too much time and I'll get lost and I need to keep myself on track. So this is the outer glow in our outer layer here, which is just, if you go to your layer style and outer glow, that's something to play with. And then the title is actually double glow. Ignore the fact that this computer doesn't know what this font is. But I have to have 2 different sets of glow. One, if I turn this off, that is super heinous and ugly. So I just added another one on top. But yeah, minimalist, always. There's actually 4 different posters for this, but I'm only showing you this running one. Yeah.
Now, do you generally have to fulfill one poster when you're doing a run for the screening, or is it more like you decide how many you want to create and it's more of a promotional choice as to making more than one poster?
I always make more than one because since I'm the one who creates them, I want to give Ashleigh options. So if she doesn't like one, I'm like, but wait, there's more. And then I'll probably draft 3 or 4. It also takes me about 3 or 4 to get a design concept down that I really like. Okay. There was one I did of this short film where it was like a kaleidoscope, and it was very cool, but insane. So it wasn't quite minimalist, but yeah, it just depends. We have other versions too. But I think this one kind of encapsulates the film the most, and so this is our running one. But yeah, I like giving Ashleigh options, essentially.
No, always good to have options. Do the different film festivals provide their laurels for you in like a vector file that you can then drag in, or do you have to normally pull them from their websites?
Some do, some don't. Usually it's in a PNG format. Some of them will give you a bunch of different colors. We have a lot of different colors for this one, actually. Hold on. No, those are credits. Like some...
I think it might be under the laurels tab.
I think it might be. I think you're right.
Yeah, good. She's so much more organized than I am. Like the edit files, it's very clear who edited.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a great point too. How do you kind of approach collaboration? Welcome to the chat, Caitlin Smith. Also, Joe Flynn saying, thank you, Courtney. But when you guys are collaborating, does it normally land on one person to do like an initial edit, then you pass it off to another? Do you both sit down at the computer together? Emma's laughing at you guys.
What?
Emma is laughing at you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning some. I'm imagining some of these are Twitch followers as well, because these are some new names as well. So thank you guys for being here. If you're here from the CANLA Twitch chat, be sure to say hello and where you're coming from in the YouTube chat.
Yeah. So just like an overall, I'll write, I'll direct. I usually do the cinematography. We'll co-produce. Courtney usually acts in it, and usually doubles as our AD or our gaffer. Sometimes all of them at once. And then when we're offset, we will also do. She'll usually do script supervising, just depending on how many people we have, and then she'll do the assistant edit and load in. I'll do the rough cut. We'll do the fine cut together. And then while I'm doing the audio mix, Courtney will do the color grade. And then while I'm doing the final watch and mix out, she's usually started on marketing. And then I handle film festival application.
Wow. So you guys really are a good volleyball team back and forth.
Yes.
I know that you said you work on some that are like 72-hour film festivals. Generally, how long does things normally take? Obviously, you guys have to work pretty fast if you have such a catalog.
Yeah, it really depends. For example, the film that Courtney was showing the poster for, we did that in 48 hours, and this has been one of
Wow.
the most successful films that we've had. And yeah, so sometimes it's a 48-hour film festival. Sometimes it's usually about like 2 to 4 months, depending on how many other collaborators we have. Some of the films that we have been working on this year, there's a film in particular called Leap Year that we were waiting for a VFX artist, but we actually ended up going with a lot of generative fill in After Effects because the film is called Leap Year and it's a absurdist comedy about death welcoming everyone into the afterlife. And there's just cars in the background of the windows and like alarm systems and, you know, things that wouldn't be in the afterlife. So it's been really awesome to be able to use the tools in Premiere and After Effects to be able to expedite our workflow.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't say that one of us is the best critic or client towards the other one, because when Ashleigh and I are even watching other people's movies, we're very not critical, that's not it, but we're constantly talking about the intent of the filmmaker, of what we thought it was, of why the lighting was what it was, the camera angles. So we have a distinct style. So once we get into our films, we don't really butt heads very much. We're just like, okay, I understand why this happened, this is this. And when we're showing either or any sort of thing, we were also explaining why we did what we did, so that we're kind of always on the same page, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
No,
there's
absolutely.
there's a lot of back and forth conversation that we have through the whole process, and we do our best to make sure that we're both fighting for the project and for the integrity of the project, and we are really good about setting our egos aside. So yeah, I would say that we aren't very critical or over the top one or the other. Just we really want what's best for the project.
And if we are, it's something that we've done, not what the other one's done. The other one's like, no, that looks good. And we'll go, oh, no,
Does
something's
it?
not, it's not, something's not sitting right, which I'm absolutely guilty of more often than not. I'm like, this isn't right. I'll return when I have something better. So.
And then is this where you generally kind of review your footage? Do you guys sit down at this desk together, or do you guys like to put it up on a TV?
Oh, that's great. It really depends. We have a really terrible habit of going over footage at lunch.
And not eating.
And not eating.
Don't do that.
So like literally on set, because we're the ones dumping our own hard drives. We don't usually have a data manager or a DIT. So we will sit down and go over the marked takes. And then when we're going through them together, we're usually in our office, not in stream. This is our stream setup, and there's just something psychologically different when we're sitting here that we're very like the camera is on, and it hinders our creative process when it comes to like filmmaking.
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
So
Have different spaces for different things.
yeah.
The office is our film, and we do have a screen if we want to watch something. If we have a rough string out or something, we do have a monitor that we'll watch it, or a TV that we'll watch it on.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then in that answer, you also mentioned how you're using storage systems like hard drives. Do you have a separate hard drive for every film you do?
No.
No.
So we will usually work off a 4 terabyte SanDisk that's like very high read write because we're working with 4K, 6K, 8K footage sometimes, and so we'll operate off that, and then we have two backup hard drives that will duplicate everything else, all of the projects that we're working on. So we always have 3 copies of everything at any time.
Yeah, and we're always mobile, so we need our entire setup to be that too. So those little hard drives, we can just pick up our laptop and run somewhere else, be in a different room, because there are always so many things that we're working on at any given time. So those just allow us to work quick and safe and not have a hard drive eject and lose an entire feature film, because that has never happened to Ashleigh and I before.
Has that happened to you before? Have you lost an
Yes.
entire film's work?
Yes,
Sure did.
and we lost a documentary. Yeah.
Was that footage included, or was that just the edit?
Footage and and edit.
It
everything.
ejected itself and fell less than a foot on a pillow. And that was it. That was the end of the drive. And we took it to this data management thing. And they were like, we have recovered NASA. We have no problem with this. They opened it and they're like, you guys are toast. We can't help you. So
Your
that
toast,
was,
that pillow really did you in.
check it out. I know. We still to this day, I'm still mildly bitter. Mildly bitter. Yeah.
Juan Raimundo Ramos is proud of you, fam. CA.
Thanks for being here.
Good to have you here. I would also love if anyone is here from the CA in LA fam. What do you guys call it? You said
The
you're-
Ohana.
The Ohana. If you are from the Ohana, I would love to know what your guys' favorite short from them is, and if it's something that you guys have seen recently, or if they did something early on and you're like, they just haven't matched my favorite part yet. I would love to hear kind of what your relationship is with it and how you also interact with them as streamers. It'd be great to hear. But one more thing about storage, then I promise we'll move on to other stuff. Do you guys also use any sort of cloud storage or like virtual backup to back up your hard drives as well?
Yeah, we'll use OpenDrive because it's unlimited and affordable. But also, we usually will have all of our film festival assets and anything that we need, because we do a lot of stuff from stream and to playing music and shows and needing headshots and needing different iterations of stills from films. So we have all of that stuff across Google Drive, OpenDrive, and a lot of cloud storage, because we're very nervous about not having the assets that we need. And it really is a game sometimes of whoever can get assets to different people the first to have those opportunities.
And also, when we're doing 48, 72-hour film festivals, sometimes Ashleigh will go in, if she's doing the edit, she'll find a plugin that she really likes. And then I need to add it to my my editing software and my stuff and my computer and all of these other things. So we always have to have just one centralized location. So whenever that asset is needed immediately, we can just go grab it. So yes, we do use a lot of that.
And that's also part of a benefit of working with another person, is you are kind of forced to have backups in your own regard because you have to back it up when you're working with someone else. Over in the Behance chat, Keys is saying, that's an idea for a short, Killer Pillows, which Adara also follows up with. And then over on YouTube, Caitlin is showing love for Legacy Nodders, and Juan is liking your film First Impressions. Joe is mentioning First Than You. So of those three, do you guys have a favorite of those three?
Yeah, I do. First You Then I, which is the poster that we showed you, that one was is sort of. Yes, it is my favorite out of those three. We were going through a really tough time when it came to filmmaking and the state of the industry and the pandemic. And we weren't even sure if this was something that we wanted to keep doing, because we've been doing it for over a decade at that point. And it was exhausting. And then that film really revitalized after Everything Everywhere All at Once, Ashleigh Shirt. When that movie came out, we were so inspired by it. And then when we made this short film, we just felt really reinvigorated into making film again. So of those three, that one is my favorite.
Yeah, I would second that. We got to test out a lot of skills. We were using tube lights and we were using flashing lights, and just it was a very technically challenging film and film process, because for it being a 48-hour, there were certain metrics of like we had to genre bend and we had to have X, Y, and Z. But that was really the first time that Court and I were working off the cloud together in our workflow of, she was doing color grade in real time while I was doing the edit, so that we were able to just have everything synced and ready to go right before the 5 o'clock deadline, which it was one of the most intense ever workflows. But had it not been for us being able to work together via cloud, we would not have been able to complete the project.
Do you feel like you work better in a pressure cooker, or do you feel like you work better when you have long time?
Oh yeah,
Ashleigh's pressure cooker. I am not.
Oh, well, that's a
So
nice balance. That could be complicated and also helpful.
yes.
And then the other
It
thing
really
that you
depends
brought
on the
up
job.
was this is actually something Courtney even was mentioning earlier when we were looking at your reel, and said something along the lines of like, "Oh, we didn't do the lighting for that." But I'm interested to hear how you started introducing new methods of lighting that are outside of just traditional, like light booms. But you said you had tube lighting. What is your relationship with lighting? Do you guys like to do your lighting a lot? When do you choose not to and to go with someone else? How do you produce with light?
Okay, so we used to do all nat light mostly because we just couldn't really afford too many lights. So golden hour was the time of day that we loved to film in. And we had done a competition, and the top three prizes we were talking about why you felt the need to create. And one of the top three prizes was LED panels. And we were like, the other prizes are great. Don't want that. And that's what we won. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very thankful that that happened. So then we got those lights and started working with them. We're like, I do understand the importance of lighting. Guys, this was very early on. We understand the importance of lighting now. Okay, just for the room.
It was a different
Oh,
world.
also, you're so fine. I love Adobe Live Community because we have such a broad range of expertise, and I think there's something to be learned at all levels.
Yeah.
And so have no shame in being like, oh, we learned this along the way, because there's plenty of people that also would like to know that, or
Yeah,
need to learn that, I guess.
the LED panels were really great, and we had just a small range of light at that time as far as the color goes. We didn't have anything like blue or pink. It was just your basic tungsten and
Fluorescent.
yeah, and we realized the importance of that. So eye lights became really big for us, and you can talk a little bit more about how we do lighting now, or now that we've sort of upgraded a bunch of our stuff.
Yeah, we really do our best to try to light 360 and at the top of the day. And then because Courtney is almost always acting, we have her work with our team of gaffers and PAs to be able to set all of the lighting, and we'll get camera shots, and then we will bring lighting in to kind of do all of our fills and all of our highlights once we are set in each individual setup. But prep is huge, making sure that we understand what our shot lists are before we go in and have all of our influences, and not so much rely on like, we're just going to fly and figure it out. Like, planning is huge, especially with what our workflow is. And we really thrive using practical lights as much as possible. We don't really love when it's very evidently lit. We understand the importance of lighting, but not in all cases can you rig overhead lighting for the financials of it, for the gears of it, and for like not having enough bodies to do so. So practical lights are huge for us.
And then
Now, where did you learn how to approach lighting in a technical aspect? I know you mentioned like a key light and spotlight. Are these things you kind of self-taught, or how did you get here?
YouTube is a wonderful resource for that. I've learned so much about lighting from YouTube, and just going to conventions like NAB and Cine Gear and looking at the lights and seeing how the gaffers who set up those things at those conventions utilize different lights. It's really, really awesome to see that. So I learn a lot that way. And then just trial and error of us saying, well, that didn't work very well with the camera. And a lot of times you will not have an opportunity to go into a location and pre-light. More often than not, that doesn't happen. So like Ashleigh was saying, being as pre-planned as possible, but then just trying to absorb as much as you can, seeing what other filmmakers do, which is why I love YouTube, because a lot of times you're not going to have a big director jump on YouTube and be like, this is what we did with the lights. But you see more in depth because those creators are creating it in real time for you to see and to learn. So YouTube has been the thing for me.
American Cinematographer, the website and the magazines that they send every month, those are huge, especially if you're really invested in like popular television shows and movies. They'll usually do full lighting breakdowns with the cinematographers and gaffers, which is so helpful, especially when you see something and you're like, how can I recreate that? Also, just reaching out to the gaffers and cinematographers on projects that you enjoy. They're so happy to talk about things, and asking them about the gear that they used, asking them about their techniques and any tips or tricks is huge. Everyone thinks that the stop point is, oh, well, if I have the same gear, I'll be able to recreate it. And that's not it at all. It's about the technique and learning exactly where to place it, learning about saturation and contrast and shadows, and figuring out like what type of lighting do you enjoy that suits the story that you're telling.
Right, because it can be both style and it can also be something that is adding to the story or taking away from the story.
Exactly.
Justifiably. Chris is saying to ask Courtney about her toes relationship with the tube lights, which I don't know what that means.
Oh, I know what it means. Yeah, we were loading out the morning of the shoot, and the tube lights, while they are very light, when they're in the case is upwards of 70 pounds. And I decided that it was smart to load out our gear in flip-flops, and I pulled the case too hard and I took my toenail off.
Oh no. Did you guys have to halt production and go to the ER or something?
No, we just continued forth.
We just
You're
put
just
a
like,
giant
okay.
Band-Aid, call it a day, and yep.
You also mentioned gaffers in one of your answers. Robert's asking how many persons are there on our production?
It really depends. Our biggest production as of lately, we had 18 people, but that included 6 cast. So our production team and our group of collaborators all are multi-hyphenates, and no one has the ego of just sticking with one and only one job. We're very fortunate that we are able to have a sandbox approach to our collaboration, and everyone is all hands on deck all the time, and really take that initiative to step in and help in other fields. Like if someone has their audio all set up, they'll go help lighting or they'll go help costume design, like that kind of thing, which has been huge.
And we all learn from each other that way, which is awesome.
96.2 is giving you 100 emoji for that answer. Keys said that when you were showcasing the shower scene earlier, they were reminded of a sequence in the anime film Perfect Blue. Do you have inspiration sequences or scenes you often reference in your work?
I'm a huge Everything Everywhere fan, along with Courtney. That movie just revitalized what is able to be done. I know it had like a $25 million budget, but when you're looking at the sheer amount of work that went into that, that was a passion project. Yeah, it was a passion project, and it was a love letter to cinema. So I really try to encapsulate that in a lot of our work of creating meaningful storylines, but also remembering to have fun. And as far as transitions go, Scott Pilgrim is forever something that I reference, no matter what genre we're filming. Just that understanding of creating a really beautiful transition is the difference between your film and another film standing out.
Also, if anybody's seen Mr. Robot, that cinematography really opened our eyes to the utilization of a wide shot. And a lot of times when we're working on stuff, we don't have the opportunity to shoot that wide because we have gear everywhere, or we just don't have a location that big because of funding and all of that. But the importance of it. And then American Crime was another cinematography reference that we were looking at for a long time, just to change up, to not have basic camera coverage and try to get really creative shots.
Keys, also just to follow up on that, if I am lacking the inspiration for a project, I'll go on Shot Deck and I will just start looking up mid shots or looking up stuff by color. It's really instrumental to using those as visual references and keys of, hey, this motivated lighting in the background, that's really cool. What if we change the color in our project? But like making sure that you're constantly staying inspired and invigorated and being able to adapt whatever your vision is to something fun, and not necessarily just falling back on basic coverage, for lack of a better term. But yeah, like Shot Deck, if we haven't seen anything that's inspiring or fitting that note for us, but usually like Everything Everywhere or Black Mirror does that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's shotdeck.com, right?
Yes.
Yep. And that's just a resource to be able to look at different shots. Just to do a quick recap, we had Scott Pilgrim, which is very successful in their transitions. I remember watching it when I got delivered Netflix. I had a Netflix DVD. I was homesick. And
my goodness.
Wow.
I had to turn it off because it was too overwhelming, because I was like having fever dreams. I was like, I can't follow this. But then when I went back to it, I loved it. But also, speaking of YouTube University, there is a really good video about Scott Pilgrim and the combination between the two in transitions of both practical effects and post-production effects for transitions. Like there's one when he's like standing in a room and the whole room rotates, and they actually put the room on like wheels so that they could then spin it. But then of course then they have the things like when he is like screaming and the letters pop up across, like very Spider-Verse at the same time, like both rooted in comics. So we had Scott Pilgrim. We had Everything All Everywhere All at Once. Big fan. I know you mentioned Mr. Robot, which I feel like you guys also probably get a lot of color inspiration from Mr. Robot, because that is very moody lighting the entire time. And then I feel like I'm missing one more that you mentioned.
American Crime. And then
American Crime.
You said one more.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, of course. And Black Mirror is cool because it changes between episodes. Cool. Howling Gale Entertainment saying Scott Pilgrim is amazing. And also, I don't know if I called it out yet or not, but Santa Fe Audio Visual is saying great resources. So it's really great to be able to have this Swiss Army knife of different things to be able to focus on. One part of the process that we've touched on a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit more about, is your planning process. Do you guys share a notebook? Do you do it analog? Do you do digitally? How do you guys plan?
We Notes app on our iPhones is huge. We try to go to museums pretty frequently. We try to be constantly consuming arts. We're involved in several different artistic mediums, from wood burning to ceramics to music and film, obviously. But it really doesn't take much for us to be inspired. So we'll see someone's walk and be like, that would be a really interesting walk for this character in this project that we would like to do in 6 years from now. And so we'll kind of store that away. But it's a little bit of everything depending on where we are. It's a notes app. Sometimes it's using our remarkable tablets, which has replaced paper for us, which is huge. Especially because now we can take all of our notes and our script markups with us anywhere and then have that on set with us. So that's been great. We've tried to stay away from putting everything in notebooks because they just end up not categorized and just in heaps and stuff in our office that we never go back to. But if we keep them evergreen in a notes app and have like different folders for each project, that's been really helpful for us.
And then Ashleigh takes a ton of pictures when we do scout or location scouts. And then we come back and sit down and say, okay, if this were our shot, she also tries to think, all right, if I'm on a 50 millimeter, what is the shot that I would get? And then once we have those images, we can say, I like that angle. Let's think about putting a light here. So we just start talking through the lighting. And of course, all of that could change when we arrive on set. But we try to make it as expedited as possible because I'm acting often and doing the lighting. I don't have time to do all of that. So as quick as it can, or as easy as we can keep things, we certainly try to do way more on the front end. And lighting and camera build are the two biggest things for us when there's just us two doing it. So
so you guys have like the writing and the prompt phase, which is where the core of it's going. Then you mentioned you tend to go and take pictures, so I guess it's the site visit that you go. Then you bring it back and kind of approach from there. Do you guys storyboard? Do you like to mostly go off of notes written on script that'd be like, okay, we would just kind of like this kind of shot? Do you mood board at all? What does that look like after you get back from the site visit?
Yeah, so usually after the site visit, we will have a lookbook that we share with all of our collaborative teams so that we can, it's kind of like the Bible of the project of here's the color palette that we're thinking. We pass that on to our costume designer, Claire Mildred, she's amazing. And she will use all of those color influences. And this will also have character bios, and we'll have character references and photos of specific characters from like Jonah from Superstore meets Waymond from Everything Everywhere, so that there's a reference of like what specifically is the anecdote and the notion of that character that we're taking forth in the package of this character. That way we can communicate with all of our departments and our actor who will be playing those roles. And then we will do mood board, storyboard-ish of we're thinking doing these couple shots for coverage, and then these are our essential shots, and then these are the play shots if we can get to them. But we categorize everything as best as possible of what is an absolute need, what is like a want, and what is a like desire.
And then we have a version that we bring to set for Ashleigh and I that have the actual light name that we are putting where. So it's like, we know a tube light is going here and we know how it's going to be mounted. We're putting a dash here. We're putting like, just, we have it so meticulous that I can just look at my phone real quick and be like, oh, right, I remember we did that work. Now I know where I can put all the things and then go run off and do something else.
Yeah.
Like
So
almost
that's
like
really
a
helpful.
grounding exercise, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so you get production day happens, you film everything, you get back down in the editing seat. Do you like to just do one quick, like, top level edit all the way through, or do you like to fine tune each scene as you move across? And is that chronological, or do you start with the most exciting scene and then kind of zoom out? What does that look like?
It depends on how upset I am from filming. I'm so serious. Like there are moments that you're able, like you've got a great film. Just like the vibes were great. There's other times where it's like, do we have a movie? I don't know. So in those cases, we will try to start with our most exciting exciting scene, which tends to be the end of the movie. And we know that by starting at the end, we're going to have to go back in and likely recut it, because by the time we start back at the beginning and we hit that end point, we've gained the momentum and the excitement to get started, but now it doesn't fit with the narrative that we have created from the beginning. So yeah, like it depends, but usually we will pick a scene that is not in chronological order and start with that, and then come back in and like find our footing, because we really try not to have basic edits. We try to be very mindful of performance. We're very mindful of the camera work and the lighting, and try to meld what the best take is, while making sure that we've got everything that we need covered in each scene.
Yeah. So we don't really use this is the final thing, because we know if anybody is a colorist as well, I'll get so attached to a single frame that I've done and I do something else. And I'm like, now I got to go in and redo the whole thing. Because as I've progressed in the project, I've been inspired by something else, or something works better, or I've found I don't know, a skill or something like that. And now I got to go back and redo everything. So I try not to ever, and you're the same. We try not to ever say that something is completely done until we've watched the full string out, love it, lock it, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Also, Keys, speaking of inspiration, is saying that they would recommend The Swingers from '96. It was made without the use of stage lighting, ad hoc locations, shot on sensitive film.
Thank you for the
the
rec.
studio you're in is reminding me of that film.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to check it out.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once again, that's The Swingers from '96. And then I know that you have Premiere open. I was wondering if there's anything we could hop in there and potentially explore.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to talk about. So I'm actually going to jump over to remittance. So we had the absolute honor of having our film get distribution. This was our first film to get distribution, and it was through ABS-CBN. And we had our films accepted into the San Diego Filipino Film Festival. And they had
Congratulations.
a partnership. Thank you.
Thank you.
With ABS-CBN. The reason that it's just one film thing is we were on vacation, or we were out of town, so we were away from our edit file, but we needed to quickly generate the captions file. So this was the first time that we used the captions in Premiere. We have several different softwares that we've tried, and Premiere is hands down the best as far as customization, as far as the accuracy, especially when we have 4 characters talking all over each other. So this was really, really simple to do. And this film is about 15 minutes long. So it really only took about an hour and a half to get all of our titles and everything tracked and be able to submit it so that we could have our film on international television, which was so awesome. So kudos to Premiere for this and for this tool. So subtitling is incredible, and especially for accessibility for socials and stuff. Like, it's a non-negotiable that you have to have subtitles on your socials, because you never know if someone's watching and they don't have access to audio. So
Right.
highly recommend. Oh, same.
I just choose to watch them without audio. So yeah, text is always super solid.
Yeah.
Howling Gale Entertainment is saying Team Remittance, and
Hey.
Santa Fe Audio Visuals clapping as well as Joe Flynn.
that
Keys
one
also
was,
says congratulations.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. This one was fun to film. We actually had to create a lot of the shots in post because
Yeah.
we did not have time to get the coverage that we needed. So this was interesting.
Yeah.
Do you often have to do ADR?
We try not to. The benefit of us filming with the Area Mira is that it has a preamp on board and it's just got excellent audio quality. So we actually did not ADR this project. This was all camera audio and plant mics, which
Yes.
was really wild. But also in Premiere, the audio cleanup tools are phenomenal with
So good.
and they just keep getting better and better. So what we've done is we have taken old projects and old films because we're trying to catalog them on DVDs. We've taken them and put them into Premiere and just let it fix the audio to degrees that we never could. And we've been able to upscale the quality of our footage as well. So it's been huge. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love that I know a lot of other software is starting to be one-stop shop, but a lot of them don't do one-stop shop very well.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you can do everything, but it's not as in-depth. And I love that Premiere, like the color grading has gotten so much better of what you're able to do and fine tune. I also, for anybody who's just getting into Premiere or you're just getting into color grading, I know, but the auto color feature, when I first started doing color grading in Premiere, the auto color is so cool because it helps you learn the software and just see what you can do, but it gives you it's not a LUT per se, which just requires a little bit more, but it just immediately colors your clips. You can get a gist of what's going on, see if you were to have everything perfectly balanced, what Premiere would say, this is what it would look like. And it's just such a great base point for getting anything color graded, especially if you're doing a vlog or you just need a quick turnaround. That's a really awesome feature. So
Yeah. And something
point.
that's been huge for us too is being able to use the in-app tutorials. And so instead of having to constantly go out to YouTube, which it's not a bad thing, but instead of having to go out to YouTube, you can have tutorials and help right in the app. So like this has been super helpful for us. We just recently made the switch over from another editing software because of the ease of use of Premiere.
mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, no, I was using external captioning software for the longest time. And I want to say only like within maybe the last few years, I switched over to Premiere. And I'm like, oh, wow, this literally took about a third of the time that it would otherwise. So it's been exciting to see that also increase
and it can,
accuracy.
It can also differentiate between mine and Courtney's voices, and there's no other software that can do that. And I don't think our voices sound too similar, but it's really awesome to be able to go in and if you are using the text-based edit, be able to take out bits of interviews and stuff without having to scrub through all of the dialogue and listen to everything out. It saves so much time.
It does.
And also, when you guys sing, though, your voices are very different. Courtney's much higher, and you're much lower. So
yes,
I feel like when you talk, it's a little bit closer, but when you sing, it is. You guys do some really good harmonies. So if you guys are looking for good music, check out CA and LA.
Yes.
Not to make it all about streaming. I want to also focus on your films too, but I'm just also a big fan of the streams, so I want to make sure people check those out.
Yeah, please. Come hang out.
So much going on. Yeah, when we start talking at the same time, some closed captioning, it just garbles everything that we've just said. I mean, you've been there a couple of times, but we're having two different conversations with people in chat all at the same time, and yeah, they just can't. We've tried to take a VOD and do closed caption on it, and no one other than Premiere can do it.
Yeah,
so it's great.
I also just really quickly want to say that a thing that I realized not a lot of people knew is that right up here in the top, you can change your workspace, and it's not complicated at all. Like you can easily go back in, and most editors that we know have different needs for like what windows you're going to see depending on what you're looking for, whether it's metadata or production or color or what have you. So you can just go in here and there's preset ones for you, and it's incredible.
And I'd like to say one more thing that maybe should be stressed, that I don't know if a lot of people use markers or if you're familiar with them, but when you're all over a timeline, much like Ashleigh and I are with, like she's saying, how she comes into an edit and what her mood is like for color. It's the same thing for me too. I want to color grade something that on set I was really excited about, and then I have to just end up jumping all over the timeline instead of zooming in and out and scrolling all over the place. Your markers are going to be your best friend. Mm-hmm. So make sure you utilize those.
And you guys are like leaving notes for each other about your markers, like little like spots, or is it mostly for like timekeeping purposes?
Timekeeping mostly, but also if I just need to jump back to a frame really quick or like get a reference, that also keeps me from going way out in the deep end on a color grade, because I know I need to stay within a certain range. And if I
Stay in your
forgot,
lane.
yes, because I get very excited. Those help out. But I will say, when Ashleigh and I are communicating and working through the cloud, we will type notes to each other in our Google Doc.
We will. We'll leave
So
little
do that.
little notes. It's adorable.
Anyway.
That's great. Well, we only have a few minutes left, but I want to thank you guys so much. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on in these last few minutes before we say goodbye?
No, we're just really, really grateful and thankful to be with Adobe and to have been invited to the Adobe Odyssey Summit. And just, it's really remarkable to feel the love and the support of staff and of a company, especially of Adobe size, for creators like us. We've been doing things very, very scrappy for so many years and like very self-taught, and it's wonderful to feel like we are still celebrated and our expertise is still like nice to have, you know.
Yeah, it's recognized, and no matter what tier of creator you are, Adobe is there to listen to you and to support you and really champion your work, because I don't feel like a lot of other big tech companies do that. They want people who are professionally in the industry, and that's just not a place that we're at, especially with most people not working in the industry right now and content creation on the rise. There are so many different use cases for a lot of software, and they're still only focused on, well, who's a professional? And it just, I really, really like, and Ashleigh really likes that Adobe caters to every type of creator.
Yeah.
So thank you
I would
for
say you guys are certainly professional on my end. I mean, especially if you guys check out some of the shorts, like you guys are checking all the boxes. Just, you know, maybe it's not under a studio, but what can we expect to see next? What screenings are coming up? Where can we find you?
Yeah,
it's just a good sign off.
First Youth and I is screening at the Overlay Arts Film Festival right now in Baltimore, Maryland. We will also be at the Bread and Roses Film Festival in October in Asbury Park, New Jersey. So that's exciting. We're getting ready to film a new short film. That's an AI dating take of Black Mirror meets Her. Courtney will be starring in it along with our dear friend Chris Ash. And we will be playing and performing at TwitchCon as musical performers, which is really exciting. So if you're interested in that, we'll be at TwitchCon in San Diego on September 20th at 5:15 p.m. On the Cabana stage. But please tune in to our Twitch streams. We'd love to have you. We're live Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays, and we've got a ton of our work up on YouTube. And if you have any questions, we would love to connect and chat more.
Fantastic. Well, that's very exciting, especially about TwitchCon. I'm excited to see your performance. That'll be streamed as well, right? They stream all of TwitchCon, right?
They don't stream the music stage, but we're taking that on ourselves to stream it because we want it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone who tuned in. Thank you, especially everyone from the Ohana crew. Thank you to Caitlin and Santa Fe Audiovisual, Hal and Gale, 96 Point Joe, you guys name it. Thank you guys for being here. And then also, of course, thank you to Dara, Keys, everyone around Behance, Shaista, you name it. It's been a pleasure having you guys here, and make sure you guys stick around for some Motion Design Hotline coming up next. Once again, I'm Ryan Selvey. Thank you to Courtney Birk and Ashleigh Coffelt.
Thanks,
I said it
Ryan.
right again, right? I'm just so nervous that I didn't. All right, cool. And we will catch you all real soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.